All right, Shalom Aleichem, welcome back. Apologize for the hiatus between this and the last recording we did on Reishit Hochma. Got a little distracted preparing for Hanukkah. Obviously, there's a war going on here at the time that this was recorded in Eretz Yisrael after Simchat Torah. But I had a friend from the States who's been following along, and he said, where's the Reishit Hochma? He goes, I've got the sefer. I'm following along, so you got to give me the Torah. So I told him, okay, great, we're going to do more. So we'll continue on. So we left off last time. We were discussing how the mashal, the analogy that was given in Chazal of basically your service of a Kodesh Baruch Hu of Hashem is compared to like a chatzer, like a courtyard, and how, excuse me, without fear, you have no entrance into this courtyard, right? You can't learn Torah. It doesn't help you at all. Because remember, the whole idea of Reishit Hochma is that the beginning of wisdom is the fear of Hashem. And so right now we're still in the Hakdama, in the introduction. So the Mechaber, the rabbi who wrote this sefer, is going through and introducing why fear of God is so important. So he's going to continue, and we're going to go through a little bit more. So we're starting where we left off. We said, V'hanire Memrat Rabbi Yehuda Nismecha Lememarot Rabbi Yonai. So Rabbi Yehuda said he was relying on the Maimarot of Rabbi Yonai. Kedei lefarish devarav, in order to explain these words. Ube'er devarav shenoda she'ikar ha'olam hu Yisrael b'shvilam nevra ha'olam. And he says that explaining these words, that it's known that the ikar, the point of the world, is Israel, right? That it was created, like the world was created for them. Kemo Shadarsho, as it was explained or was darshaned out in the pasuk of Bereshit. At the very beginning of the Tanakh, it says, Bereshit bara Elokim. And Rashi comes and explains. He says, Bereshit can mean many things. And one of these things that is Bereshit is, he says, Bishvil Yisrael Shenikreu Reishit. That it's known that Israel is called Reishit, meaning the Jewish people were called Bereshit, like they were called beginning. And where does he bring this from? He brings this from a pasuk in Yirmiyahu, in Jeremiah. I had to go look it up. It's Jeremiah 2:3, and where it says there that hold on one second. It says there that it says Kodesh Yisrael la Hashem, like Israel is holy to God. Reishit tevuato. And that they are the first fruits of God's harvest, meaning they are they're like the beginning of everything that God made, right? Of His benefit. So we say Israel Ikar Kiyum Ha'olam, right? And so Israel is the car for like the reason for why the world was established. She'efshar le'olam below Israel, and it's impossible for the world to exist without the Jews. Because we're God's people, right? Like He created all existence for us. He created the Torah for us. Like everything was made for us, which is, some people take that unfortunately as a sign that we think we're better than other people. This is really, to me, this has always meant more that we've been given a special mission, and we have to take that very, very seriously, right? It was explained to me just like, what does it mean that Israel is God's chosen people? So many people say, the Jews, they think they're so much better than everyone else. And it was explained to me, no, it's different. If you look at it, we see in the Jewish people itself, right, we have three different groups of Jews. We have Kohanim, we have the priests, we have Leviim. Don't really have a good translation, but really the Leviim are like the assistants in the temple. They chop the wood, they bring the water, they sing the songs, they help the priests, everything, right? And then you have Yisrael, you have everybody else. And what's our job? We bring sacrifices. We provide money to the priests and the Leviim to support them in the temple, also that they can go on doing God's work. So, but without any one of those groups, this doesn't work. You might say that, the Kohanim are the most important, but they're not, because if you don't have the regular Jews who are supporting them, the Kohanim can't do their work, and the temple doesn't function. It's the same thing with the rest of the world, right? Like the Kohanim themselves, we expect more of them. They have special halacha. People may not be aware, but Kohanim, they have to be very careful, even in these days, not to go near dead bodies, not to go in graveyards, in order to maintain purity in preparation for the rebuilding of the third temple. They have rules about who they're allowed to marry that is much more strict than like a regular Jew, because we expect more from them, right? Like we're holding them at a higher level of holiness and leadership. Same thing, like our rabbis, right? We expect more out of our rabbis than we do just a regular stam guy running around in the synagogue. And it's the same thing with Jews. Like we have a special mission that was given to us by God that came from the Torah, and we need to live up to that. And as a result, we're held to a higher standard. That's why we have 613 mitzvot, and non-Jews have 7. Because we're really supposed to be, when it says we're supposed to be a light unto the nations, we're supposed to be a conduit for HaKadosh Baruch Hu's will and Torah into the world, so that way we can show the nations of the world a better way to live. And as I'm recording this, we literally just went through a time in America where a bunch of presidents of some of the quote-unquote best universities in the world sat there and would not admit that calling for the death of the Jewish people was against their code of conduct and morals. So, the world needs a lot of light, and as Jews, we need to give the world a lot of light, and if there were not us, this is, an example of what could be going on, right? So, let's continue. So Shnei Amar, as it was said in the prophet Zechariah, he says, Ki arba ruchot v'gomer, because just like the 4 winds. I mean, there he's talking about bringing the Jews back from Babel and Assyria, from the 4 corners of the world, because he's really talking about the Messianic times. But he's saying, Kashem she'ef shar leolam below ruchot, just like the world is not able to function without the winds. Kach ef shar leolam below Yisrael, the world is not able to function without Jews. The HaTorah lo nivraet ela b'shvil Yisrael she'yadua lahakir et boram. And the Torah was not created except to help Jews recognize their Creator. Meaning, the whole reason we have the Torah is so that we can recognize the Kodesh Baruch Hu. Kimon shedarsho b'sifrei, just like it was darshaned out in Sifrei. Sifrei is one of the midrashim, meaning rabbinical traditions, sayings. There's different types. There's exegetical. There's halachic. In this case, Sifrei is written on both, I believe, the sefer Bamidbar and on Devarim, and this is from Devarim, Parashat Ekev. It says Ze Lashonam. This is the language. Rabbi Shimon ben Bar Yochai, Omer. So he brings, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the author of the Zohar, brings a pasuk from Yeshaya. It says here in the sefer, it says Samechei, which is 65, verse 24. I found it actually in verse 22, but sometimes, depending on which version you're using, verses are not native to Tanakh, right? So depending on who wrote the verses down, it varies maybe by 1 or 2. So he says, Ki yamei ha'etz yamei ami, just like the days, or the length of days of a tree will be the length of days of my people. And as we know, trees are very, very long-lived. Some of them are over 1,000 years old, supposedly. Ve'ein eitz ela Torah, and there's no eitz, there's no tree except for the Torah. Shnei Amar, as we say in Mishlei, in Proverbs, where it says, Mishlei, third paragraph, or third chapter, verse 8, says, Eitz chaim hi mahazikim ba, right? It is a tree of life to those who grab to it or hold to it. L'hari devarim kol v'chomer. And from these things, we have a kol v'chomer. So kol v'chomer is I'm probably butchering this Latin, but it's an a fortiori argument, meaning if I say that Reuben and Shimon, I have 2 guys, right, Reuben and Shimon, and Reuben can lift 100 pounds, and I know that Shimon is stronger than Reuben, then I can say, if Reuben can lift 100 pounds, then for sure Shimon can, right? Because I know he's stronger, so maybe he can lift more. Maybe a more grounded example in Torah is that we can say that we know that the rules, like how you behave on a Yom Tov, on one of the Chags, is similar to Shabbat, except the rules are a little more relaxed when it comes to cooking and preparing food for the holiday. So we say that it's a kol v'chomer, that if something is permitted on Shabbat, for sure it's permitted on Yom Tov. Right, so he says here, there's a kol v'chomer, he says, Uma Torah shelo nivrat ela likvodam shel Yisrael. So, he says, and just like the Torah, right, wasn't created except for the kavod, the honor of Israel, harihi kayemet leolam olamei olamim, and their honor is going to last, or Israel is going to last for forever, basically. Kol v'chomer, even more so, letzadikim shebishvilam nivra ha'olam. Right? Then even more so, the world was created for the tzadikim, the righteous, the saints. I don't really like that word, but the holy men and women of the Jewish people who are on an even higher level. Right? We say tzadik yesod olam, that the tzadik is the foundation of the world. Ad kan l'shamot. So, meaning, we're going to now start talking about the behavior of a tzaddik and how a tzaddik should behave. Meaning, just like we were just talking about how Jews, we expect more of them than non-Jews, and just like we expect more of the Kohanim and the rabbis than we do of regular Yisrael, so too we expect more of the tzaddikim, and we're going to get into that. So im kain, if so, nafkamina shekol mitziut ha'olam ikaro. Right, so what's the nafkamina? Meaning, what is the practical difference between the reality of the ikar of the world, hu Yisrael, the lo natan lahem and ikaro hu Yisrael, right? The lo natan lahem HaKadosh Baruch Hu et HaTorah ela sheyiru milifanav. Meaning, he didn't give the Torah to the non-Jews. I mean, he offered it, right? There's the famous midrash that says when Hashem was looking to give the Torah, he offered it to every nation of the world, and every nation of the world said, it sounds so nice, but there's one thing that I don't like about it, right? One nation said, I don't like this don't murder thing. And another one said, I don't like this no stealing thing, right? And it finally got to the Jewish people. We were the last ones. And Hashem said, look, if you don't take this, I'm going to destroy the whole world. I'm going to start over. And we said, okay, fine. We'll take the Torah. It's a little under duress, but we'll take it. But he said, like, the author here is saying that there's a practical difference. Like, we're given the Torah, and the world was created for us. So what about the rest of the nations of the world? Why? What is their point? And he says here that even though they weren't given the Torah, their whole point is that they should stand before Hashem. They should see Him. They should recognize Him. Ve'od shemachmat briat ha'olam nakir ma'asav v'gadlo v'nirei milefanav. Right, and furthermore, that because of this creation of the world, they should recognize His works and His greatness when they stand before Him. V'chein perush b'raya and Nehemna, and so too is explained in the Raya and Nehemna, which is part of the Zohar. It's a very deep sugya. I can't say I've really learned it or understand it. I just know that's where it's from. She'ikar briat olam, that the point of the creation of the world, bagin sheyish temodaun le, which is Aramaic, because the Zohar is written in Aramaic, but I have over here in the sefer itself, it comes with a little translation, and it says sheyikiru oto, that they should recognize Hashem, right? They should recognize Him, literally. So im kain, so if so, hayira shehu yareh mehabore shebara hakol hi ikar chatzer. So now, the author is connecting us back to this original idea that we had of the Chatzer and of our service of God. And so he says, so if so, then we see that the fear of the Creator of the world is the whole ikar of this Chatzer, of this courtyard. The ha-chochma ha-melamedet ha-derech hi sha'ar ha-knisa. And the wisdom that we study is the way of the gate of the entrance, meaning that the learning of Torah is really supposed to be the entrance way into this Chatzer. The Nimsa, and we find Shekevan, that since Shelo Nivra Adam Ela Shira et Habore, except to fear his creator, right? Bazehu Ikar HaChochma Kedif Rishit. That this is the ikar of wisdom, like it was explained. Ha'oseh hafek ze noach lo shelo nivra, and it was made. Let's see. Hold on. But it was made the opposite, so that it was easy for someone to not know his creator. Shema hafech kavanat haborei. V'nimsa berito lebatala ve'isko bechochma lebatala. And we find that how would I look at this? We find that his creation literally is mivatal, is nullified, and his work and his wisdom is nullified, and it's easy for him. It's easy for him to not recognize his creator because there's no what is it? V'noach lo hahader me'achar she'ein bo toelet, right? Because the absence of the creator, there's like, in the absence of the creator, there's nothing bad, or there's no use for him, literally. So what is he saying? He's saying that if you don't have fear of Hashem and you don't recognize Hashem, then it's very easy to be complacent, and you might even think, like, why am I doing this? Because there's no benefit for me at all to be doing this learning and fearing of my creator. God forbid, that's not how we should think. So we say, next paragraph. The Midrash Rabbah, it was explained in Midrash Rabbah, which is another one of these Midrashim. It's probably the biggest and well-known, which is why it's called Rabbah, the greatest. Parashat V'zot Bracha, the last section of the Torah, right, that we read right before Simchat Torah. It says, She'ikar lomed Torah hu ha'maaseh hanimshach mimenu. Right, that the ikar of learning Torah, the primary reason we learn Torah, is in order that for the deeds that we're going to bring out from it, meaning the actions that now come from our learning of Torah. Zeh lashano. We see this also in Pirkei Avot, right? That you have to learn Torah in order to do mitzvot. So he says this is the language. Amar Rabbi Elazar said, Ezohi habracha shebarech Moshe b'Torah techila. So what's going on here? So Zot HaBracha, we're saying Moshe Rabbeinu was bringing the Torah down, and it says before this quote that they're bringing, he says you're not allowed to learn Torah without a bracha. You have to make a blessing over the Torah before you do it. It says first bless, then read. So the question the rabbis are asking is, well, when Moshe received the Torah at Har Sinai, what blessing did he make over it before he gave it to all the Jews? So the blessing is as follows. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam. So blessed are you, Hashem, the master of the world. Asher bachar b'Torah hazot v'kidsha v'ratza be'oseha. And the key that he wants to say here is, like, normally we say bachar banu mikol, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam Asher bachar. Hold on, now I need to pull up my siddur. We say this every morning, and I'm forgetting it, which makes me feel bad. But let's see. So we say, Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, right? V'natan lanu et Torato. But here we're saying Asher bachar b'Torah hazot, that gave us this Torah, the Kitsha, and he mikadosh, he made us holy, the Ratzah, and wants us in the Osea, in its works, right? Wants us in its works. So, what does this mean? Below Amar, the Almea. He didn't say in its Almea, in its toil, meaning, what does it mean by toil, right? You would say toil and works sound similar. So works, it's talking about actual deeds that you're doing. Whereas Almea is really referring to the actual act of toiling, or being osek in Torah. Like, I'm studying the Torah very hard. And he says, V'lo amar behogea, and I'm not doing it in a method. Hogea is like philosophizing, right? So I'm not doing it just contemplating it. Ella be'oseha, rather in its works. Be'elu shehem osim et divrei haTorah, right? These are these acts that are the words of the Torah. Adam Omar, or Omer, Lamadati Hochma v'lo lamadati Torah. Right, so a man says that I learn wisdom, but I don't learn Torah. Ma'aseh shamani. So what am I doing here? Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu Israel. So God said to Israel, Hayachem kol ha'chachma v'kol ha'torah. So the lives of all your wisdom and all your Torah, davar echad kol hu. It's like one easy thing. You ever see all those internet? I was just thinking about this when I learned this. So, do you ever see all those internet clickbait articles, right? Do this one easy trick to whatever, get rich, get healthy. So those are all made up. However, here Hashem is saying, do this one easy trick, right? Kol mi shemita yare, that anyone who is going to fear me, right? Fear God, be'osei divrei Torah, and do the words of Torah. Kol ha'achma v'kol ha'torah belibo. All the wisdom and all the Torah is going to be in his heart. Minayin. So from where do we know this? Shneimar, it's said in a pasuk in Tehillim, and we're going to come full circle now back to what we saw before. Reishit Hochma yirat Hashem, right? The beginning of wisdom is the fear of God. Seichel tov l'kol osehem, and whoever does them is going to understand this well. We also see the Mechaber brings another pasuk in Tehillim. He says, Yirat Hashem Tahorah, that the fear of Hashem is pure, Omedet La'ad, right? And it's abiding forever. And he also brings one last pasuk, and I'm sure he's got plenty of others because there's a whole sefer on this. But we see in Eov, in Job, right? Yirat Hashem Hi Hochma V'chulu, like meaning that the fear of God is wisdom. Ad kan l'shanot. So now we've come full circle. We understand why the whole purpose of being of the world was created for Jews. It's in order for us to do the Torah, right? What does it mean to actually learn Torah? It means that we do the works of the Torah. And we learned before, but we connected it down here, that in order to do Torah, you have to have fear of God, and because that is the ultimate beginning of wisdom. And now we learned that there's one easy trick. You fear God, and you do Torah, and you got everything. So I don't know why I have to give this shiur anymore. But, no, whatever, we'll continue on. But that is the latest message with Reishit Hochma, and God willing, we will continue. Hanukkah starts tomorrow night. So I don't know if I'll have a chance to record another shiur, but I will try to be much more regular and updating on this, so that way my friend in Chutz La'aretz can continue on his learning of Reishit Hochma. Anyways, should all be blessed with an excellent Hanukkah full of lots of light and lots of open miracles, and should remove the oppressors from above us, just like the original Maccabeim did, and except whereas there. We didn't really follow up the way we should have. God willing, this time we'll elevate the Hod that has fallen into the Klipot, and we'll get out of this nasty, nasty galut and exile, and we'll see the coming of Mashiach speedily. Chag Sameach.